What's good, you guys? Your boy Dev to the MO back at it like a crack at it with these mathematics soft fabrics. So I do cause steady. And we here with another reaction. But this is the Origin series. This is a new series that I had thought of this week, literally, about finding the different origins of people's background. Like me, I'm a Cherokee slash African. I don't know which part. I gotta do the I gotta do the genealogy test, whatever. But I am Cherokee. My great grandmother on my mama's side, on my mama's side, is a Cherokee Indian woman, and my great grandfather was a Cherokee Indian man. And then on my father's side, they stated, feel me? They stated that their side was descendant of the slave trade. So I'm mixed with both. And if you really want, this video basically is going to be about how there was black Native Americans as well that was in the slave trade, like was a part of the being slave process, right? I think that's what I'm going to talk about. I ain't getting deep dive into it, but if you fuck with my content, please like, comment, subscribe. If you want me to do a origin type of story on your peoples or where you come from, like you feel me, put it in the comments. I already have the next one is the French Canadians. That's the next one. I'm gonna do one a week. I'm gonna do one documentary a week because this should be long. This one is like 46 minutes. Like, feel me? So, and with this series is more serious. So I'm not gonna put too much edits in it. I'm gonna just go, it's gonna be straight through. If I find some information after I start after the video, I will put little clips up of the information I found out that was false or facts. So anyway, let's get into this something. This is by Dane Calloway. Shout out to Dane Calloway. It's called The Untold Truth About Why American Indians Were Labeled Black. Full documentary. Let's get into it.
Who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? 20 million
Brother
black
Malcolm.
people don't even know their own language. Why? Because he took it away from them. 20 million black people who don't even know the history of their ancestors. Why? Because he took it away from them. And if you try and tell them how thoroughly and completely they've been robbed, he says you're teaching hate.
I know that's the Almanacs. I read a book about them from they was from South America. I read a book about them.
Dark people who have been oppressed and exploited by those.
Sorry. Quick question. Because not quick question, but quick backstory. My family, my original, like I live in New York right now, right? My family originated in Alabama. And they used to deal with the Geechee tribe. If you know the Geechee tribe through the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina. And if you know the history of the Geechee people, they was here before Columbus as well. Now, dog, what are you doing? Anyway, they was here before Columbus as well. So I know that my people, at least on the Cherokee side, was here way before Columbus. So I know that we have a lot of talking about reparations and the slave trade. Cool. But at least if we don't get the reparations for the slave trade, we should be getting reparations for when they took over the colony. I mean, took over the America in the first place. Respectfully. But anyway, my fault. I gotta stop pausing. It's a long video.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Brother Malcolm.
and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
Facts. Brother Dane Calloway, man. Why American Indians were labeled black. I remember they reading up on that, how they switched out with that whole shit over. Like, oh, now you black now.
Aborigines.
Aboriginals,
Which
man.
means what? Black folks. you never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're all.
Hold on, let's go back. That's crazy.
Never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are.
She looked just like one of my cousins, son. That ass. My cousin Hope. She looked just like that, son. Oh, I got chills, son. Let's get into this shit. Fuck what you talking about? Origin series, man. We're gonna learn something about every culture so we could come the fuck together. You heard? Because like I stated in my post on the community post, if we understand where we come from and then we start understanding the similarities we have, what the fuck are we beefing for? We have more similarities than we do have differences. Feel me? The system got us fucking divided. You know what Tom McDonald be talking about? The system got us divided, beefing with each other. Think about even if you want to get into the football realm, right? When your football team loses and then now motherfuckers is fighting outside. That's stupid. Like, you feel me? You beefing with each other because of a fucking football team? Like, come on, bro. Shit idiotic, man. Origin series. Sorry for yelling at y'all.
They're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American. Aborigine actually means from the beginning. It's two Latin words.
Big Floyd.
Meaning from, origine meaning the beginning.
Let's look that up. Let's look that up. While we here, let's look that up. What aborigine means. Definition of aborigine. Relating to the indigenous people of Australia or other languages. Inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before the arrival of colonists. Okay. I see what they're saying. Alright. We're gonna learn something in this shit, you heard? Feel me? Like, I'm not one of them people who gonna look at a documentary and just believe it's 100% true. We're gonna start researching certain shit. On camera, respectfully. Let's go. Shout out to Floyd. One of the best fucking boxers ever. People say he pussy because he ran. No, that motherfucker's smart. Anyway, let's go.
Meaning from, origine meaning the beginning.
Before the colonizers.
Ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning. Ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning.
Oh shit, this is about to go. That was just the intro. I'm already intrigued.
Turn it up. Look, 100 years after 100 years, they lied to us about this and that. Told us all we from Africa. I made fiction characters turn into facts. Time and then it was not. No goddamn well that trick was capped. My wife and I wrote a book about it. It's a book with knowledge, evidence.
Oh, damn, rap too? Okay.
Book got them haters shook, cause it's helping mind people take a closer look. Had their backgrounds in the background, showing mind people where they supposed to look.
I gotta read into that.
Where they hit it from, all sorts of angles. When it comes to this research, you must please first, don't trust strangers. Find out all on your own is what I highly recommend and suggest. And if you looking for answers and content about me, I highly recommend you the best. Which is my website at the link you see, just screen, don't let it miss you. I make it simple, I double down on that black and white. It's so official.
That logo is fire. I'm just trying to make you think.
Now, in today's society of America, millions of so-called African Americans are struggling to come to grips with their true identity, culture, heritage, and history, mainly due to the numerous manipulative tactics utilized to govern their critical thinking mechanisms and to also decimate their literacy capabilities. Each one of these manipulative social engineering experiments can only be detected and detached from one's subconscious when standing outside of the box. I'll let you ponder on what's happening to those that are still inside of it. Meanwhile, you have not and will not ever hear me promote any form of religion throughout any of my content that I present to the public. Reason being is due to religion, faith, and beliefs being based on one's personal relationships. And I am not here to debate nor argue about who you should or should not love.
I agree with that.
That's simply none of my business.
I respect that.
So let's also be sure to not confuse the truth that I present throughout my content with any personal beliefs that you may have. Now in this segment, you will learn about who you
basically saying, when you look at this documentary, have an open mind. A lot of people be so tied into what they believe that anything that goes against what they believe and what they was brought up to think, oh, it's wrong automatically instead of doing research. That's why one of the reasons I started the origin series, huh? Feel me? Because we gotta understand something. If we want to understand the future, you gotta go back to the past. And there's so much shit that the government put in front of us to eliminate the past and have us beefing with each other that it just don't be making no sense to me sometimes, son. But let's get into this shit. I gotta stop pausing this because this video will be forever.
truly are and where you really came from based on truthful information. Because mind you, there is a big difference between truth and facts. Facts are merely controversial information, whereas a person bears the opinion to debate its credibility or not. That's yet another form of belief. Whereas the truth is non-debatable due to its credibility of always making logical sense.
He do like him.
This is why in today's society, most people don't even care about the truth. Why?
Facts.
Well, because to them, unfortunately, a lie is more entertaining.
I agree, brother.
So now let's start with March 1st, 1790, when then President George Washington and Vice President John Adams, along with Speaker of the House Frederick Muhlenberg, signed the 1790 Census Act. According to the census itself, it states that the 1790 Census Act is a law that, quote, required that every household be visited, that completed census schedules be posted in two of the most public places within each jurisdiction, there to remain for the inspection of all concerned, and that the aggregate amount of each description of persons for every district be transmitted to the president.
Okay.
So let me point out that some
1790.
households, not all, were visited by these individuals entitled as census enumerators, also known as census takers, who are technically federal government unsupervised employees who allegedly went from town to town, city to city, and door to door, deciding who was of what race and then documented the family they meet as such. So you mean to tell me that these census takers were provided instructions by way of the government to document and record the ethnic category of various family members based on their perception of the family when they visited? And their opinions were considered to be official historical records of information? Even though they did not count every individual living within the United States due to the multiple indigenous Niji raids and rebellions occurring during this time period, the alleged first official census of the entire United States was implemented on a day dubbed as Census Day on August 2nd, 1790.
Okay.
See now, what's very important to note here is that the quote, free people of color were recorded all in one group. And also note that it states free and not freed, as if they were freed people from some form of enslavement. I go into more detail about the census labels in the documentary that I'll link above right now. But I said all of that for a particular reason, and that is the official 1790 US Census population count was a total of 3,929,214 people. But keep in mind that this total amount did not reflect millions of people who were indigenous to North America, aka Turtle Island, meaning they did not come from another continent, nor did it reflect the accurate total amount of so-called slaves in North America. Why?
Because they don't look at them as people.
The U.S. Census Agency themselves admitted to not possessing the majority of their official historical records of information that was allegedly documented between the 1790 U.S. Census and all the way up to the 1830 U.S. Census.
Damn, that's
and
a lot.
Their excuse was to claim that these records were lost.
Census data of 120 years ruined by fire and water. Yeah, right. Irreplaceable records stored in basement of Commerce building destroyed. 2 firemen overcome by fumes. You mean to tell me one of the most precious data that we have in this culture, in American culture, is out of nowhere was up, had water damage and fire damage?
A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit?
Come on, man. We know what the fuck they do out here, son. The bitches is lying. Because if people start going back to their past and start looking at the real census data, they're like, oh shit, I'm not this, I'm this, I'm this. Feel me? And then start realizing, oh, okay, y'all only putting these things in here so y'all could for y'all could justify how y'all treat me this way. Man, fuck these niggas, man.
Or destroyed somehow. See, this was all purposely done.
Like they did 9/11. We all know by now we know 9/11 was an inside job, son. Cause there ain't no way that fucking jet fuel destroyed them steel beams and the building collapsed like that. Have you ever watched a building collapse? Whoosh. When they set it up with the bombs and all that shit, it goes in and implodes on itself. A plane crash, 2 plane crashes. Rest in peace to the victims. I'm not saying they never happened, but I was in New York. I had to this is September 11th. I was in 4th, 5th grade or some shit like that. I had to get my mom had to pick me up from school. My school was on 86th Street. You feel me? Like when I left out, we looked back, we could see the smoke and all that shit. It was bad. Like the victims that were unalived by their own government on that day. That's why I'm bro. Tom McDonald, son. Fuck the system, son. The motherfuckers evil, son. Feel me? And they do shit like this on purpose, bro. On purpose. Shit's fucked up.
For 2 reasons. A, to hide the truth about the real history surrounding the U.S. and slavery.
Agree.
I mean, generally speaking, you can literally prove to
Cause think about it. Why would they destroy only that part to that part? Like, you feel me? From that year to that year. Why would they only destroy that part? Like, come on, son.
yourself that your ancestors were slaves or not by documentation. You can check and see if your ancestors came off a boat. I've been sharing this information publicly for years now, along with my sources. And I still have not heard from anyone that used my instructions to trace their family that I have available on Amazon Prime and anywhere else books are sold, that one of their ancestors were documented as being a former slave. The people that reached out to me that has or is currently undergoing research on their family's history have not failed with discovering that their family members were either never enslaved and has always been free, or worked as an indentured servant for money, land ownership, business ownership, etc., and considered to be freedmen once their obligations of servitude expired.
Is that like the same with the Irish? Was it the Irish brought along over here for indentured servitude, and then once they was after their contract was up, then they was labeled freed? I could be wrong. You feel me? People who are Irish or have Irish descent, please put it in the comments. I know my subscriber base is it's growing. Like, you feel me? So I know all cultures is in here. So if that's what indentured servitude was for the Irish, let me know. Let me know. I don't know. For me, I would love to learn.
Make no mistake, when you hear the term freedman from now on, freedman does not necessarily mean that he or she
shit. Look at that white man right there and his son. Caucasian man. Alright.
was freed from enslavement, because it can also mean relieved from their duties. in most commonly known cases.
That's why that brother. I'm gonna put a comment. I'm gonna put the comment here. That's why he said about the reparation. This is an older Caucasian gentleman, 51 years old. Me and him was going back and forth on a post. Not like an angry back and forth, but he said some things. I said some things, and in response to him saying that reparations would be a tricky thing. And from just off these first 10 minutes and him breaking this down, it's true. Because if you say free men and then it's not documented, okay, free men from indentured servitude or free men from the slavery thing, how do you know? Like, you feel me? Like, how do you fucking know? And they did that shit on purpose. Respectfully. Shit's crazy, son. Shout out to that brother, too. That was a nice little back and forth conversation.
So this first reason to allegedly lose or destroy these records was to hide the truth that it was a very small amount of copper-colored slaves and a greater amount of prisoners of war in North America. And the second reason is B, to hide the truth about who are the real minority and majority in terms of the population count here in the United States of America. In which this brings me to my very next point. The biggest portion of their agenda was the abominable sabotaging of the indigenous Niji's history, legacy, languages, culture, and heritage systematically. So of course they couldn't pull this task off on their own. So they implemented a methodology format based solely on the scientific concepts of eugenics.
It all makes sense. And for the brothers and sisters out there who love or who lack the self-control and not to abort their babies, Margaret Sanger, the queen of eugenics, she ain't like black people. That's why most Planned Parenthoods is in the hood. You feel me? They don't want more black babies running around here. I'm talking about the system. I ain't talking about regular white people amongst me and you. They don't want black kids running around here like that. Why do you think every year we kill over 300-something thousand of our babies? And they want us to they want you to make it seem like the reason you're doing that is because of health conditions. No, motherfucker. There's only two understandable ways that you would go about abortion, like for real, for real. One, if you was all worded. Two, if it was some incest shit. Those are only the two ways that really it makes sense. Like, you feel me? They told you that, hey, my body, my choice. I could do what I want. Not knowing that shit is damaging your body and it's damaging your mind doing that shit. And on top of that, it's a ritual to kill your fucking baby. They even have it out here in some states that after the baby's born, they could kill a baby right then and there, and then use his body parts for stem cell research. I remember Dr. Fauci was doing that shit. He was funding that shit. I think the University of Pennsylvania. I found it. For me, he was funding that shit using the stem cells of born babies that they killed because the mother asked for it or whatever the case was. Like, come on, son, that's evil shit. We live in a realm of demons right now, son. Like, they probably been out here, but I'm just saying, like, for our existence right now, these motherfuckers is demons, bro. These not humans. These demons, bro. Respectfully, who will sacrifice a baby? That's some sick shit, son. Okay.
According to the National Archives, the term eugenics was coined by a British natural scientist and explorer named Francis Galton in the year of 1883. Now, there are two sides to every coin, so I'll be sure to flip each side over, and I'm not theoretically speaking here.
Appreciate you, brother.
Eugenics was implemented to help improve one selected group of people and their future generations to come, to overtake and oversee yet another set group of people and their future generations by way of extermination of their mindsets. This rabbit hole goes much deeper than one may assume. Allow me to simplify the explanation of this paramount method utilized by the likes of your industrialized institutions throughout America still to this very day. Eugenics literally changes everything that any person was ever taught of or even thought of previously before this selection was carried out upon him or her. According to Francis Galton himself, this system would allow, quote,
That nigga look evil. Look at him. He look like one of them demons or one of them vampires. He like one of them vampires in the movie, son. Oh, Nosferatu, whatever the fuck, Nosferatu, whatever the fucking vampire is. Evil like he like a fucking bird. Eagle-headed ass boy. Anyway, let's go.
more suitable races or strains of blood a better chance of prevailing speedily over the less suitable. End quote. Galton was heavily influenced by the likes of an English naturalist, biologist, and the first ever self-proclaimed documented bigoted genealogist, Charles Darwin. Darwin single-handedly developed the controversial theory of human evolution, which was his belief that man came from monkeys, and then his system of natural selection, which included a heavy flux of racial derogatory.
Hope you show more information about that.
Since 1859, that's when Charles Darwin introduced origin of species by natural selection and the favored human races. Did you know that today they only report half the title that Charles Darwin wrote?
Oh shit, what he said?
His title had to do with favored human races, assigning supremacy to the Aryan race.
Ooh!
All other...
Ooh! I ain't know that. I didn't know that at all. We was taught in school Charles Darwin, one of them smart brothers who just, from he had his own little thing that he thought. From how primates act just like humans, that we evolved from them. That's all I was taught. I know y'all was taught the same shit, right? No matter what generation you in, you probably taught the same shit. But this motherfucker was an Aryan, part of the Aryan Brotherhood. Bitch ass nigga. But let's go.
Others being inferior.
That's crazy, son. What the fuck? I didn't.
Only a handful. His book was racist. And that was the basic purpose for writing it.
Sick shit.
During the early 1900s, the social
racism is so stupid, son. Racism is really dumb, son. You really don't like people because of the color of their skin? What? People, son.
engineering aspect of Darwin's theory became popular worldwide amongst many scientists alike, high-ranking politicians, and it even caught the eye of the elitists. More about this in the second installment concerning this topic. But I mention all of this to inform you that they played a prominent role in elevating the advancement of eugenics, specifically for the sake of their own race, disguised as if this was for the benefit of all humanity at a cost of whatever they desire. They were religiously following this formula or rule, dubbing it as survival of the fittest. In other words, Charles Darwin's theory of human evolution was merely a way to elevate and escalate the implementation of white supremacy and to eradicate those who were of non-pale complexions, deeming it as survival of the fittest, where those who did not meet their racist criteria, motives, and agendas would suffer from a variety of forms of propaganda that was hypothesized to eliminate the opposing race of people. Eugenics is literally a modernized pseudoscience that was based merely on racial discrimination and environmental injustice, socially, physically, and mentally, but became prosperous still due to its popularity of praises from those who gravitated towards inequality and racial estrangement. On the date of September 25th, 2008, in a statement made before the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs by Representative James P. Moran, on the grounds of the Thomasina E. Jordan Indian Tribes of Virginia Federal Recognition Act, Moran stated, quote, "This is a travesty that this committee can correct. The second unique circumstance for the Virginia tribes is what they experienced at the hands of the state government. During the first half of the 20th century, it has been called a paper genocide. At a time when the federal government granted Native Americans the right to vote, Virginia's elected officials adopted racially hostile laws targeted at those classes of people who did not fit into the dominant white society.
Fuck
the
the
fact
systems,
that some of Virginia's ruling elite claimed to be blood descendants of Pocahontas, in their view, meant that no one else in Virginia can make a claim they were Native American and a descendant of Pocahontas's people.
Yo, that's some sick shit. Because you claim 9 times out of 10 this is one of the elitist people in the government at the time, which is Caucasian. You feel me? Or Jewish. Like, you feel me? You claim that you're a descendant of Pocahontas. So somebody who really is a descendant of Pocahontas, but just darker skin tone, or just Native American in general, you gonna sit there and say, "Oh no, I believe I'm the descendant of Pocahontas, so you're not." What kind of bullshit is that? What kind of little kid shit is that? Like, you feel me? Oh, you got an ice cream, but I got this ice cream first, so you shouldn't have no ice cream, Billy. Bitch ass nigga. For me, and then you know what's the craziest part about this? These people who be in these top positions, niggas is pussy. That's a fact. You'll never see these motherfuckers walk amongst us. These motherfuckers got Secret Service and all that shit around them all the time. Feel me? Because if they knew if they knew that we knew who they were, it's up. Respectfully. Feel me? And I'm not talking about just black people. I'm talking about all of us American citizens who getting fooled by the fucked up system. If they knew that we knew who they were, their whole family. Respectfully. Well, let's get into this.
To do so would mean that Virginia's ruling elites were what they decreed all non-whites to be, part of the inferior Negroid race. With great hypocrisy, Virginia's ruling elite pushed politics that culminated with the enactment of the Racial Integrity Act of 1924. This act directed state officials and zealots like Walter Plecker to destroy state and local courthouse records and reclassify in Orwellian fashion all non-whites as colored.
Wow.
It targeted Native Americans with a vengeance, denying Native Americans in Virginia their identity.
Wow. Now, don't get me wrong. I knew something about that. I just didn't know the specific details. But that's crazy, son. Come on, man. Shit's starting to get me mad.
To call yourself a Native American in Virginia was to risk a jail sentence of up to 1 year.
What?
End quote. Now, in this
going
statement,
to jail for who you are
the
is
term
crazy.
Native American. But the truth is that our identities were changed not from Native American, but from Indian to colored. And they were not only jailing people in Virginia for claiming their true identity, but they were also killing them by hanging them from a tree, and in more ways than one that I won't mention, in each state across North America. The biggest bigoted, racist, white supremacist of them all was none other than Walter Ashby Plecker.
He looked like he racist. I know you're not supposed to judge off looks,
The Plecker era was truly one of the darkest times for Native people in Virginia.
Oh my God.
But I think
rest in peace to these people, son.
For us to think about what was the genesis of the ideology that Plecker was a proponent of. And it's really the eugenics movement. The eugenics movement was a pseudo-scientific movement. We say pseudo-scientific today because we find that
some bullshit.
The science that they were proposing is not what we today would honor as scientific in any way.
It
The
was
eugenics
racism
movement has a
hidden
direct
behind
link
science.
to the descendants of Charles Darwin.
Bitch ass niggas.
They somehow made the leap to these notions about racial purity. What is best for each race is racial purity. Plecker and his friends convinced the Virginia legislature to adopt very restrictive legislation in 1924. It's called the Racial Integrity Act. With this legislation, it was decreed that there were only two possible categories. One is white, which means a person, you check that you're white if you have white ancestry, Caucasian ancestry, and absolutely nothing else. The other category is everybody else, and that's colored. So this was very...
That's crazy how, cause think about it, bro. Let's really think about that, right? If you had brothers and sisters who came from Africa, who came in from the slave trade, during the African slave trade, right? Boom. Now they Africans who just came on American soil, and then now they label colored. But if you have Native Americans who were black on a skin side, you feel me? And then you got the fairer skinned Native Americans, they all bunched all of us together colored. When we all got a different set of tribes that we come from. I'm speaking on the Africans too, because you know they tribalized as well. We all come from different tribes. But you put us all together as colored. It's like the news today, right? Like in Brooklyn, right? There's a lot of West Indians and a lot of Jamaicans in Brooklyn, right? And there's a lot of gang violence in Brooklyn as well, right? They would sit there and classify that person who got caught on camera shooting or robbing somebody as what? A black man. Da, 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 da. But then when you see the picture of the dude, you can clearly tell he from Guyana. Clearly tell he from Jamaica or he from Trinidad. You can clearly say this is not American, a black American, if you want to classify it as that, a black American. You clearly say that, but they always put it under the term black because they want us all to be in the same fucking boat. So when people start looking at black people in general as evil and shit like that, it's all of us. Not only the Africans, not only the Trinidadians, not only the Dominicans who call themselves black, because you know there's Mexicans who call themselves black. Not only the black Americans here, not only the Native Americans who are black and skin and fit and tone, they all want us to be labeled as evil. That's why they only put it as black, 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 black. Shit fucked up, son. Shit is fucked up.
very hard on Virginia's indigenous community because, in a sense, it wipes away their identity. Their identity on paper, their ability to describe themselves as Indian was not possible. To describe themselves as Indian was not possible.
They could get
Keep
killed
in
or
mind
go to
that
jail
our
for
elder
that.
family members' birth certificates were changed multiple times to state colored, Negro, mulatto, and now black or African American as their classifications of racial identity by way of the federal government.
I think the African American thing that was changed during the 60s and 70s, right? By Jesse Jackson. He's coined the phrase the African American.
That's one. What?
But did they change it during that time? I don't know. Let's go.
Government systematically. So the moral of this segment is that you have been lied to by your government, your president and politicians,
Fuck Biden,
your
nigga.
news media, your school teachers, college and university professors, your public school history curriculums, multiple out of Africa theory books, and even by the very people that share the same hue as you and I.
This motherfucker is
And
cold.
that's a whole nother story within itself. Now, I challenge each and every one of you to seriously research your mother or your grandmother or your great-grandmother's birth certificates, right?
I have to look up my great grandmother's birth certificate. Even though I know they Cherokee, you could just tell. It's Cherokee. They Cherokee Indian. If they still have I gotta go down south, bro. I gotta go down south and see this shit, because, like, it gets frustrating, bro. Like, this shit really get frustrating when you really don't know the grasp of your history. Feel me? Because I could say like the people who are Irish, who's from who the Nordics or the people who are what they call it, the Vikings. I forgot what the term they call it, but they could go back into their history and look. Okay, I'm from here. I'm from here. I'm from here. My great grandmother was from here. My great. Like you feel me? But when your history is destroyed, and then now you gotta fucking pick apart and see. Feel me? And then imagine the family members they lose that shit and when they move from state to state. Like now you don't know who the fuck you are. And that should get you mad because it's like, damn, if I really knew 100% of my history, this certain shit probably I never would have did. Respectfully, because when you know if you know your past, you know your future. Man.
right now. And if it has the letter C or COL dot or
Color.
color and every other misclassified title of race created by the government that I just mentioned, then at that moment you will know the absolute truth about who you really are.
I gotta do that research, son. You're the grandchildren of the Indians. You weren't able to remove.
I've been around doing this for a long, long time.
I heard
I
that verse
don't
before.
always get it right, but I always take responsibility. When
I'm
I get it
biting bitch
wrong, I
ass.
acknowledge I got it wrong. But my overarching objective, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but this
I remember when he said
country
that shit.
is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans.
And the motherfuckers voted this motherfucker in office. Allegedly. I think it was rigged. But motherfuckers have voted this motherfucker in office. He's one of the main reasons the crime bill came into existence in 94, 93 crime bill. Main reason. And then he was calling black kids roaches, all that shit. He's probably one of them people from the eugenics line. Faggot ass nigga.
But because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European.
The funny thing about it is, ain't under his regime, they brung up all the people from Venezuela and Mexico, and then of course some Chinese and then some Africans. If that's really his stance, why would he open the fucking border like that? Unless the powers that be, you know, open that border up because they trying to destroy America from the inside out.
You hear me? Minority white
By
European.
American Indians with Labor Black Part 2. Shout out to Dan Calloway, son. You got a subscription for me. Get with my eyes up already. He even get into the main topic.
Those of you that say Black Lives Matter, I feel sorry for you. Do you really believe you have a black life? Do you want me to read to you the meaning of black? Who called you black? Shouldn't you have rejected that from the beginning? A contradiction, a bundle of contradiction. Black means the absence of color. Absence of color.
Talk.
Absence of good. Absence of light. Absence of direction.
And we all know words mean spells. So even me, I gotta get used to not calling myself black. Like you feel me? Because do I look black to you? Like, like you feel me? Do I look? This is black. Sorry, this is black. Do I look black to you? Hmm? These headphones. This is black. Like, do I look black to you? You think of this, man? Like, he right. Cause words are spells, son. And we casting spells on ourselves every day.
That's the meaning of black. Black is not a color. It is the absence of color. Don't you understand it? They keep laughing at you as you call yourself black. They keep laughing at you. Open any dictionary. Find out the meaning of black.
Let's go. We ain't gotta do that. Let's go do that right now. Definition of black. Black. Of the very darkest color owing to the absence of or complete absorption of light, the opposite of white. That's crazy. Belonging to or denoting a human group having black colored skin, especially of sub-Saharan African ancestry. Black color or pigment. You see how much they changed this shit a lot. A member of a human group. A member of a human group having dark colored skin, especially of one of sub-Saharan. You got that? Okay. Full meaning of black. Let's go into that. Lacking hue and brightness, absorbing light without reflecting any of the rays composing it. Characterized by absence of light and enveloped in darkness, a black night. Let's look up something else. Black energy definition. What? What? Oh, not dark energy. It's probably the same shit. Well, let's go. I don't know what I'm looking up. Let's get back. Let's get back into that. Okay, but he's speaking. Let's go.
And tell me if you find anything good and you are not black. You got to change it the same way. Negro became a racial slur. Black should be labeled a racial slur. When it is used in connection with you, black should be labeled a racial slur. When it is used in connection
Everyone
with
wakes
you.
up at different times, so just continue to be their alarm clocks. That's a nice. That's a bar. She look like she kind of favored my little sister. Kinda crazy.
To watch all of my exclusive content not featured here on my channel, log on to my website
I'm just here to
at
make you
I'm
think.
just here to make you think.com/films.
You can get your ad off, brother. This
Throughout
shit.
today's society of America, millions of so-called blacks or African Americans are settling for a complex description of their historical ethnicity based solely on the fictitious thoughts of particular strangers who were assigned with the responsibility of documenting a person's classification of race by the color of their skin in which they see, or their best personal opinion of what an individual should be generally racially classified as.
Son? She get busy too.
These particular individuals were entitled as census enumerators, also known as census takers, or the U.S. Marshals, who are federally government unsupervised employees that was said to have allegedly gone from town to town, city to city, and door to door, deciding who was of what race, and then documented the families they meet as such. The Marshals, or the census enumerators, had and still has a mammoth amount of influence on genealogy records. In fact, what they informally documented on a sheet of paper was literally based on their individual opinions, and then later deemed as official records that were sacrosanct, leading to hundreds of years of whatever the census takers' ideas of race were officially credited as historical facts of information. So, in simpler terms, these census takers were provided strict instructions by the government to record the ethnic category of various family members based on their perception of the family when they visited. So if you are attempting to find and interpret data about your family's history, these results can be confusing, especially if in one census your family has been recorded under the category all other free persons or slaves, and then free persons of color, then mulatto, and even black. During the earlier years of census taking, there were no categories for Indian at all, while in later census records, Indians were recorded all in one categoric group known as free people of color. Most census of today are mysteriously skipping the classification of race altogether, meaning that this particular portion of a birth certificate, for example, is purposely left blank, but only for people ranging from light to dark brown skin complexions. In part one of this segment, I shared congressional records uncommonly known by the public that details the truth about census records and why the choice of your family's classification of race was solely up to the individual census taker of that particular area and not your family members. The complexity of census records is in fact outrageously discombobulating, but still very utilitarian for research purposes and enthralling nonetheless. During the early half of the year 1790, Congress assigned full responsibility of census taking to the...
We just got that from the last part of the documentary.
2,000 years later.
The 1800 census classification options were free white, slave, and all other free persons. So we can easily determine that they have added the word persons to the already established category, all other free, which was used in the 1790 census 10 years prior. Interesting enough, the Indians living in the wild, generally meaning plains, and the Indians in the West or on reservations were not taxed, but those who were enumerated were recorded in the all other free column in the 1790 census. Once the Constitution called for a census of all persons excluding Indians not taxed, many other adjustments were made towards the classifications taken by the enumerators, mainly due to the sole purpose of apportioning seats in the House of Representatives and assessing direct federal taxes. On March 2nd, 1807, then President Thomas Jefferson signed an act to prohibit the importation of slaves into any port or place with the jurisdiction of the United States. This act deemed it unlawful to, quote, import or bring into the United States or the territories thereof from any foreign kingdom, place, or country any Negro, mulatto, or person of color with intent to hold, sell, or dispose of such Negro, mulatto, or person of color as a slave, or to be held to service or labor, end quote. This act came into effect as of January 1st, 1808. Keep that in mind. These familiar terms that I just mentioned, like Negro, mulatto, and person of color, were not used as the official classifications of race on the census during this time period of 1808. In fact, just 2 years later, in 1810, there were very few adjustments made to this third census.
Solange knows. Sorry.
Making Indians living off of reservations now recorded in the all others column of the census form.
Can't touch this.
This time around, the options were free white, slave, and all other, in replacement for the 1790 and 1800 census option that read all other free and all other free persons.
See?
Soon after that,
they complicated that shit on purpose, bro. We had the conversation already, but I'm just saying that shit crazy.
The War of 1812 made American history. It was a war declared by then President James Madison because of the discovery of Great Britain supporting many Indians with rebelling against white settlers squatting in America. This war between the United States and Great Britain lasted until the year 1815. And then 5 years later, the 1820 census made some critical adjustments to the classifications of race on their forms. This time, the Indians that were living off of reservations were recorded in the free colored persons category.
Wow.
Note that this is the very first time ever in history where the census utilizes the term colored. And other options included on the form were free whites, slaves, and then all others, except Indians not taxed. So, generally speaking, The phrase Indians not taxed is referring
Alright,
to
my
the
dog just dropped
Indians
something.
living on reservations
Doing
under
too
the
much.
aid and care of.
Sorry, I gotta go back, bro. That just got me tight.
This time, the Indians that were living off of reservations were recorded in the free colored persons category.
Okay.
Note that this is the very first time ever in history where the census utilizes the term colored. And other options included on the form were free whites, slaves, and then all others, except Indians not taxed. So, generally speaking, the phrase Indians not taxed is referring to the Indians living on reservations under the aid and care of government agencies or.
While the phrase Indians not taxed is meant Indians living on reservations under the care of government agents or roaming individually or in bands over settled tracts of country. Indians not in tribal relations, whether full bloods or half breeds, who are found mingled with the white population, resided in white families, engaged as servants or laborers, or living in huts or wigwams on the outskirts of town or settlements are to be regarded as part of the ordinary population of the country for the constitutional purpose of the apportion, apportionment of representatives among the states and are to be embraced in the enumeration. Okay.
Roaming individuals
It's
or in
1880.
bands over settled tracts of the country. But need I remind you that according to the 1828 Webster's English Language Dictionary, which was 8 years after this census, the noun American is defined as a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races, found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America.
Oh my God.
Then the
They
very
just changed everything, son. How American was just the natives of copper color or people who were just born, who was here already before the settlers came. Cool. Now it's changed to the settlers who came in here. That's some sick shit, son. That's some sick shit.
next year, on March 4th, 1829, Andrew Jackson began his presidency in the White House.
Okay.
Then on February 22nd, 1830, Senator Hugh White proposed a bill from the Committee on Indian Affairs called the Indian Removal Act.
I think I've seen this.
According to the Library of Congress, the Indian Removal Act was signed into law by then President Andrew Jackson on May 28, 1830, authorizing the president to grant unsettled lands west of the Mississippi River in exchange for Indian lands within existing state borders. A few tribes were said to have left peacefully, but millions resisted the relocation policy and stayed put throughout the southern lands of America.
Oh, shit.
By the 1850 census, 20 years later, another change took place, whereas the categories for race were now white, black, and mulatto. What is very important to note is that if a person looked light or mid to dark brown skin in complexion and was an Indian, the census takers recorded them as M for mulatto.
Wow, son.
According to the 1828 Webster's English Language Dictionary, mulatto is defined as.
Oh, shit. That's like one of my aunts. They're like my Aunt Sonia, son. Respectfully. What the fuck?
Quote, a person that is the offspring of a negress by a white man or of a white woman by a Negro. End quote.
So it has nothing to do with Native Americans anymore. You see that shit? It has nothing to do with Native Americans anymore. They just erased that whole spill. And just out of nowhere now, you know, if you a white man who had sex with a black woman and now you a mulatto, or a white woman, a black man had sex with a white woman, now you mulatto. What a that's not how you make Native American. Yo, this shit is sick.
According to the 8th edition
Like
of the
Pharrell.
Collins Spanish Language Dictionary,
Look, just like Pharrell.
the term negress is defined as an offensive word describing a woman or girl of color.
Of course.
Or negra. Or negra. Or negra.
I think most people think the census is about counting, and that's what I thought. It's really an exercise in counting before I started to do research. And I started to look back since 1790 of how we counted Americans along racial and ethnic lines. And back then it was color. And there was a controversy then, who should be counted? And should slaves who are black be counted the same as free whites? And because there's money involved and taxation involved, there was a big debate. The Northerners wanted slaves to be counted as the equivalent of free whites, and the Southerners didn't, and they agreed on a compromise that blacks, slaves, would be counted as 3/5 of a white person. So in that sense, the census not only cemented the color line, but reinforced how we thought of race, racial inequalities. And these categories have constantly...
Sorry, my primal urges. She's fine. This woman is fine. Anyway.
Change, which is really fascinating. I was saying backstage that in 1850 we had a category mulatto to try to capture the amount of racial mixing. In 1850 we had a category mulatto to try to capture the amount of racial mixing.
But how can you capture racial mixing in 1850 when blood testing was invented during the early 1930s?
You dropped a bomb on me, baby. Talk your shit.
Between blacks and whites. In 1890, I believe, they added octoroon and quadroon to try to get at precise racial mixtures between blacks and whites. And then in 1930, because there was so much racial mixing, they actually dropped that altogether and just used black for anyone with any trace of black ancestry. And hence this idea of the one-drop rule.
So why is it a one-drop rule instead of being an actual proven fact?
Because they destroyed the fucking records on purpose.
Which has stayed so pervasive.
And if you destroy the records on purpose, how can the people who really own this land or who's really of this land go back in the history and be like, yo, I wasn't a slave, my nigga. Like, you feel me? Or go back and just say, even if I was a slave, who was the slave owner so I could go get my fucking money? Like, respectfully, but oh, I hate this system, son. Respectfully, I hate this system. I love my people in America. Salute to y'all. I love y'all. You feel me? But the system, suck my dick, respectfully.
In the minds of Americans of who is black. And so as a result of all these practices, I think Americans have become very attuned to identifying blackness and constraining that racial category.
To force someone to follow a particular course of action. Facts.
In the instructions for the enumerators in the 1890 census, when it comes to color, sex, and age, the enumerators were instructed to be, quote, particularly careful to distinguish between blacks, mulattoes, quadroons, and octoroons. The word black should be used to describe those persons who have 3/4 or more black blood. Mulatto, those persons who have from 3/8 to 5/8 black blood. Quadroon, those persons who have 1/4 black blood. And octoroon, those persons who have 1/8 or any trace of black blood.
Racist.
End quote. This sounds a bit confusing to you, right?
Facts.
The U.S. government created separate freedmen's lists specifically designed to rule out all copper-colored Indians from receiving any newly established benefits and land allotments that they were entitled to. The U.S. government listed...
It all makes sense. Because I remember, I don't remember 'cause I wasn't there, but I remember reading up on how during certain times, like around this time or the early 1800s or later 1800s, they was giving out different lands and all that to the Native Americans or their heirs who was here before Columbus and all that. Cool. But when they started finding out that the darker skinned Native Americans, brothers like me, you feel me, wanted the same land, they gonna switch the whole shit up. Switch the whole code, the whole game up. Shit is fucked up, son. Indian by the blood we shed. Let's go, black people. Learn who
All
the fuck we are,
full-blooded
son.
American Indians as black
I gotta stop saying
or
black.
colored as their classification of race documented inside of the 1900 census, while simultaneously white U.S. citizens were allowed to become identified as Indians by simply paying the Dawes Commission a whopping total of just $5 for each white adult and child.
Come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
To be listed on the Dawes rolls.
Wow! So when they was distributing the land to the people who are native of this country, they sat there and let the white folks who had nothing to do with the situation, you feel me, who was not natives, who came in through the Columbus shit, let them pay $5 to be a part of that, so now they could get free land and shit. Triggered. Okay, let's go.
Placing those people that were initially on the forms during this time period.
Wow.
So now, from the late 1880s to April 1st, 1902, which is known as April Fool's Day, public notices were passed around detailing that other claimants can legally make their cases for freedmen enrollment. However, this motion single-handedly allowed white citizens the rights to legally cede Indian lands, reparations, plus the optimized benefits having been set in stone previously for the people now classified as black.
Wow. So during this time, the reparations that the government promised that they was handing out to the natives and the people who are freed slaves, they gave it to these fucking white people here. Feel me? No. Feel me? Of course, it's not against like white people had nothing to do with it. It's not no shot at y'all. But that's fucked up. They don't think that's fucked up. They gave her out reparations already, and then they gave it to white people who didn't deserve it because they wasn't a part of none of that shit. What?
Go in your room.
Let's just get back on the video. This should get me tight. Cause my ancestors had to go through shit, bro. You feel me? They could have had us set up in a certain way, but the system is so fucked up that they gonna sit here and let the people who had nothing to do, who didn't suffer from that situation, get land, money, whatever the fuck they was giving out during that time. So they did give out reparations already, but they just didn't give it to us. They gave it to the Caucasians during that era. It's fucked up, son. That shit got me mad.
Now, jumping over to the 1930 census, it gave special instructions to the census takers, stating, quote, Negroes, persons of mixed white and Negro blood should be returned as a Negro, no matter how small the percentage of Negro blood. Both black and mulatto persons are to be returned as Negroes, without distinction. A person of mixed Indian and Negro blood should be returned a Negro, unless the Indian blood predominates and the status as an Indian is generally accepted in the community. And then it goes on to say, quote, Indians, a person of mixed white and Indian blood should be returned as Indian, except where the percentage of Indian blood is very small or where he is regarded as a white person by those in the community where he lives.
So that means that if you're a Native American who's already here chilling, they classified you as fucking white. So now they just said fuck being Native American, you white in the census, right? And then if you got a more See, except where the percentage of Indian blood is very small, where it is regarded as white person, where he live, China, Indian. That's fucked up. So they classified Indians as white, right? This is back then. But then now the 1930 census, if they mix with a little bit of white and Indian blood, they should return back to Indian. But if they have a little drop of Indian, they return back to white. That's what the fuck.
End quote. So in other words, according to these enumerator instructions, whites have the power to choose whatever he or she wants to be.
Wow.
So if a white male or female lives amongst the Indians, then he or she can consider themselves as Indians. But if he or she just so happens to move into a predominantly white neighborhood, then he or she could consider themselves as white on the census. I'm just here to make you think.
Wow, son. That was an eye-opening documentary. Shout out to the brother, bro. What the fuck did I just watch, son? So you mean to tell me that they declassified, reclassified, my fault, reclassified the Native Americans of all colors and hues, right? From the fair skin to my skin, of course. They reclassified them as white, right? Well, if you were fairer skin, you were classified as white. But if you are of darker skin, they classified you as black or Negro instead of fucking Native American. And then in the 1900s, when they started giving out the land and the money to the people who are part of the Native American culture, and I guess the freedmen, which is the free slaves, white people paid $5 to add themselves to that list so they could get the free land. You know how fucked up that is, bro? So this whole time I'm thinking, yo, we need reparations and all that. They gave the reparations out already. But they gave it to the Caucasian people who could afford the $5. And some of the people who are Native Americans and quote unquote blacks. That's fucked up, son. That is really fucked up, son. That shit's got me tight, son. But I love this type of shit because at the end of the day, it's history that motherfuckers don't know about. Cause they ain't gonna teach you this shit in school. Imagine they taught me this in school. Like, you feel me? I'll be a whole different brother. Like, you feel me? Respectfully, I'll be locked up. Respectfully, I'll be locked up right now for putting hands and feet on some government official. Man, fuck it. Anyway, it's your boy Dear to the Dear to the MO. Remember, take your motherfucking peace. Nobody tell you can't do what you want to do out here. Be the best version of you. You can be. Protect these kids. Protect yourself from this bum virus. And always remember, the government is your boy. I love you. I love you. I love you. Peace. If you rock with the Origin series and you want me to watch a documentary on your origin, no matter what creed you are, cause you know we don't do that color shit over here. If you rock with it, put it in the comments, man, or hit me up on TikTok, DM, and I got you, son. The next one for next Sunday is the French Canadians. I got two videos that I'm gonna go back on, right? But anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Peace. You hear me? I gotta get some. I gotta go down south and see my history even more, son. Cause this shit got me in my bag. Respectfully, I love you guys.